Hi everybody, it's Kim Lovely. I'm coming to you from Pembroke Pines, Florida. I'm here with my dear friend Franck Quenal, who's agreed to talk to you guys and me about his journey. He is a lifelong passionate runner and had a major life crisis and managed to get through that life crisis and continue to do the thing that he loves, which is running. So I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself, and then I'm going to ask him some specific questions and help you understand the importance of coachability. Franck.
Thank you, Kim. So I'm Franck Quenal. I'm 57 years old. I've been running, I would say, as long as I can remember. Running when I was 6 and 7, being in competitions. That's what I've done very successfully. I was a consultant. I put my sneakers in my suitcase. When I could on treadmill or outside, I was running. I moved to New Hampshire, met Kim at this time, and she agreed to train with me for long distance races. We've done half marathon together, and local races. And then after that, I moved to South Florida.
Broke my heart.
I discovered that South Florida has two of my passion, running and Disney. And I discovered the Disney races. And I registered for a ton of them from 2012 to even now. Every year I'm doing about 6 Disney races total, an average per year. Everything was fine, and one of the things I'm trying to do as well as for running is stay healthy. And one of the recommendations that doctors give you is do your annual physicals every year. And I was following those advice and went and have it checked. Through one of them in 2018, I shared with the doctor that I had to go to the bathroom way more often than I wanted to. Obviously prostate is a man's concern. My dad...
your dad had passed away from prostate cancer.
My dad passed away from prostate cancer. He was diagnosed, had radiation, and 8 years later prostate came back, and unfortunately he passed away from it. So with that history, I knew that I had to follow advice of people that had the best my interest in mind and recommended me to do and see a urologist and do MRI and do biopsy if needed, which I did. And it came back that effectively there were part of my prostate that had a cancerous area. So we decided to monitor it and do another biopsy 3 months later. 3 months later, the cancer, unfortunately for me, had already evolved from just a cancer that can be monitored to a cancer that needs to be acted on. 3 options were given to me: prostatectomy, radical prostatectomy, chemotherapy, and radiation. My dad going through radiation and the output he had was not the option for me. Chemotherapy, I was afraid that if cancer were to come back later, surgery could not be possible potentially. So I went for the radical prostatectomy option. I decided early when I knew I had cancer that cancer would not drive my life. I love running, I love to be outdoor, I like to eat healthy, I like to be active. So one of the questions when I knew I had to have surgery is how long before I can resume running? And the answer from the surgeon was from 4 to 6 weeks. I heard 4 weeks. It was not an option for me to even wait for 6 weeks.
I didn't hear 6, I heard 4.
So even before surgery, Kim joined me and we ran triathlon together 2 weeks before my surgery. So cancer was not going to define who I am.
So when we were preparing for this race, of course it was so much fun. We had a blast. But I would tease him with things like, hey, do we need 2 bikes? Like one for you and one for your prostate. And he was such a good sport. I mean, I just, as we're doing this event, I kept thinking, one of the people that means the most to me in the world is doing this event and yet having major surgery in 2 weeks. Like, it's incredible. Yeah. Did the surgeons ever tell you that you were ridiculously healthy, with all the things that you were doing, right?
So it's one of the things that before surgery, I went to see the anesthetist, pre-ops, and it's one of the jokes is that I was the healthiest patient you have seen in months.
Sure.
Because prostate cancer is usually something that happened to older men. 55 at the time I was diagnosed. It's pretty early to be diagnosed with prostate cancer. But I think my running habits and my
eating well, sleeping, and
doing
Yeah.
what I believe is the right thing for me, at least, helped me tremendously to have an easy surgery and recover very, very quickly. 4 weeks and one day, my sneaker was on and I went running.
How would the first run feel?
It was scary, but more into, I don't know. I mean, some of the things that happened after the surgery were, in fact, two things. One is the incontinence.
Yep.
And there's definitely, ways to work with incontinence between pads and clamps and muscle training that's very important if you had
biofeedback therapy and all that stuff that you
Yeah,
did.
so I was studying that at the time. I mean, it's not straight after surgery, but 3 weeks after, I was trying to do Kegels to build those muscle memories to reinforce those muscles that will prevent some incontinence. And the other part that I've mentioned briefly is just erectile dysfunction, but nothing to do with running at all. So yes, it was a bit scary the first time because I didn't know what will happen to my body, but I ran my first 5K with like nothing. And from there, it's 2 days after I was back on running, and as I had registered for some other Disney races, the big one being the Dopey Challenge in January 2019.
So if you don't know what Dopey is, it's 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, all in a row.
4 days in a
4
row.
days in a row.
Waking up early and keep doing it and enjoying as much as possible. And I had no expectation, but I did my Kegel exercise on a daily basis and trying to stay healthy and keep doing my training the
Following
same way
the
I would
plan.
have no other no personal health issues. And I've completed that event, and it's probably my preferred running
Your
event
favorite
I've
one?
done
Yeah.
so far. And
When you went back for follow-ups and you talked to the physicians and you told them, hey, I'm, back to running marathon, did they happen to say like, holy cow, guy?
I mean,
impressed?
it's one of the things I always share with the people
Yeah.
about, I'm very conscious about my health and is it the right thing to do so I can stay healthy. So yes, I share with them and share the incontinence and they say, okay, it will get better as time goes. But if you feel like you can run, keep
Go
running.
ahead and run, yeah.
And that's what I did. Yeah, I never stopped and I'm still doing that.
Oh, and nutritionally, one of the things that he gave up caffeine.
That's the only best thing about my experience, I would say.
Yeah, that's hard. This is a Frenchman who could literally drink espresso and then go to sleep. So that was a tough one.
Yeah, but since now we're 2 years after the surgery, I feel I'm extremely healthy. Cancer didn't define me. Running is defining me for sure because I still run my 6 races a year with Disney, and
Healthy.
stay healthy and
Weigh the right weight for you, strong.
and following advice. For me, it's one of the things I think drove my life is that I'm not expert in everything, but some people know more than I do, and I work with Kim for nutrition's advice and what not to do or what to do or make the right choices. And I follow the same advice with my doctor that recommended me to be checked when a surgeon said, let's do a biopsy. I didn't fear. It was the right thing for me to do. And that's the way I try to drive all my decisions in my life is follow the people's advice and be open to receive information and make choices with them, with their advice and my personal opinion on my life.
So you can see when you think about the concept of coachability, which I talked about in my last episode, that it's the willingness to take information that may not be easy to take, but actually bring it inside and think about it and decide, wow, this is going to be game changing for me. If I'm able to pay attention and listen to the advice of others, it could change my life forever. So, some of the therapists that you worked with, they were probably like, hey, you want to run a dopey, you run a dopey, So I think it's so important, and Frank is a true role model. He experienced a major life crisis, and his dad died of the disease. So it can't have been a moment of lightness. Like, it had to have been a very challenging moment. And I know Joy, your wife, It's one of my best friends in the entire world. I know that she was with you every step of the way, and the decisions that you made as a family. And I remember you telling me, like, I'm interested in being there to see my grandchildren. Like, that's what I want. And so I will do what it takes to make that the most likely outcome.
Absolutely.
And that was, the decision to do the prostatectomy was for you, and to get back running and keeping yourself really healthy so you can toss grandbabies around.
Oh, that's my next chapter in life, I would say, and I cannot wait for it. But and I hope that those kids, my grandkids, will be running
Run
with
with
me.
you.
I would
There
love
we
to have that
go.
happening,
We can
but,
start this like grandparent-grandchild running. Like, wouldn't
We'll
that
do
be
that.
cool? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Franck. Thank you for your honesty and your wisdom and your bravery in all of this. You inspire me all the time, and I love you to death, and you know that.
Thank you very much, Kim.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.